In honor of Veterans Day, WNCT is celebrating the service and sacrifice of our military heroes. We present to you Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ken Watlington.
And I'm Courtney Court, and welcome to Veterans Voices. For the next 30 minutes, you will see stories paying tribute to our veterans here in the East and also around the country.
Our first story takes us to Washington, D.C., where veterans from across the nation are traveling to our nation's capital once again, 18 months after the COVID-19 pandemic grounded honor flights.
The nonprofit gives all expenses paid trips to those who served during World War II, Korea, and Vietnam so they can visit the memorials honoring their service. Washington correspondent Jesse Tenor reports.
God bless the United States.
A hero's welcome.
Thank you, sir.
For 122 veterans at the memorials dedicated to honoring their service and sacrifice.
Okay, big smile.
Strangers at the National Mall asked for photos and shook their hands.
Hey, brothers?
While some families celebrated generations of military service in D.C. together. This honor flight from Columbus, Ohio gave those who served during the World War II, Korea, and Vietnam eras an all expenses paid trip to reunite with those who survived and remember those who didn't.
Real joy to be out here today.
Bill Lawson served in the Navy during the Vietnam War, a time when he said many returned home to a much different reception.
Being cursed and spat on, and I think this is just a wonderful way to show we appreciate every military person.
The pandemic grounded all honor flights for 18 months. Precious time for some veterans who were hoping to take the trip, but passed away before they could.
There's not that many left from World War II that you can ask a lot of questions about.
Bill Jackson was the only World War II veteran on this honor flight. He served in the Navy, where he manned a gun turret.
Kamikazes and Philippines put 20 holes in our ship.
So you had a lot of close calls.
Yeah.
At 96 years old, Jackson still has vivid memories of the war, but was first reluctant to make the trip back to the memorial that honors it.
Are you glad you did?
Oh, yeah. They've been so nice to me. I can't believe it.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Jesse Tenor.
From 1942 to 1949, nearly 20,000 African Americans served in the Marine Corps, and the majority of them came through Jacksonville, North Carolina. Not on your side, Cheyenne Pagan takes us back to that point in history.
While the Montfort Point Marines initially experienced discrimination, they believed in a higher ordeal, a higher value that they were represented.
On June 25, 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 8802, prohibiting racial discrimination in the national defense industry.
Someone has to start, and these were the individuals that actually opened the doors for blacks to come in the Marine Corps.
They reported to a segregated training base near Jacksonville, North Carolina, called Montfort Point. One of those Marines was retired First Sergeant Jack McDowell. He reflects on his first experience with all-white troops.
That's actually the first time in 1950 that I served with white troops. And all of a sudden, and overnight, I was in charge of 28 of them. Most of them didn't even know black guys were in the Marine Corps.
In 1974, they renamed Montfort Point to what it's known as today, Camp Gilbert H. Johnson, to honor the camp's first black drill instructor.
One thing about the Marine Corps, they teach us history. They teach us why we should be proud of being Marines. It's called instilling. They ensure that by the time we get that first Eagle Grove and Anchor at Paris Island, San Diego, they have changed us from being a civilian to having the heart of a Marine.
Son of Corporal Clarence L. Clark, an original Montfort Point Marine, says,
I know my dad was always very, very proud to be a Marine. I once asked him, what was it like to be a Marine? He said, there's no such thing as was a Marine. You're a Marine forever.
Retired Chief Warrant Officer Houston Chenal says his goal is to preserve this chapter of Marine Corps history.
Active duty Marines and other veterans perceive it as an all-black organization. When really it's not. It's about Marines. It's about remembering a chapter of history. It's not black Marine history. It's Marine Corps history. And that's the big story we're trying to get out.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Cheyenne Pagan.
They are some of our country's most idolized military heroes, but their journey was filled with adversity just because of the color of their skin. Reporter Randy Ayala spoke with a Tuskegee Airman about his experiences training to become a fighter pilot.
Nothing to know about me. I'm like a book open and closed.
Real simple.
The life of James Harvey III is anything but. At 98 years old, hearing him tell his story of what it was like becoming a Tuskegee Airman feels like you're watching a movie.
Well, they said we didn't have the mentality to fly aircraft or operate heavy machinery. We were inferior to the white man. We were nothing. So we proved them wrong.
Harvey belonged to the 332nd Fighter Group. He describes himself as a perfectionist. When he was young, he decided he wanted to fly P-40s. He achieved the goal, but the road was not easy.
The instructors would call us all kinds of names and do everything to wash us out. And what we had to do is be cool, handle it.
This hat is a reminder of one of Harvey's most memorable experiences while serving. His squad was chosen to compete at the first Top Gun weapons competition in 1949. He says after instructors bent the rules so a white group would win, his team still came out on top. But it took decades for the recognition after the Air Force Association refused to add their names to the winners list.
Each year when that almanac came out, the winner of the 49 weapons meet was listed as unknown, unknown, unknown.
It wasn't until September of 1995 that Harvey and his squad were recognized as the official winners of the weapons meet.
46 years. They knew who won, they just didn't want to recognize us as being the winner. That's the story of our life.
Randy Ayala, CBS 17 News.
When Veterans Voices continues, meet a veteran who served 80 years ago at Pearl Harbor and is today still answering the call to serve his community.
And they give servicemen and women their final tribute. Now the race against Father Time to preserve military honor guards. Welcome back to Veterans Voices, honoring those who served. Our next story focuses on someone who did just that 80 years ago.
Reporter Jeremy Hubbard tells us about this 100-year-old Army vet who is stepping up once again to help his community.
Dear Mr. Blake, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Most 100-year-olds don't get fan mail.
There are not enough words to express my deep appreciation for you.
But over the years, notes from total strangers have appeared in George Blake's mailbox with gratitude for his role in history. He was stationed at Pearl Harbor, December 7th.
I was only there a few minutes.
1941.
And there was this tremendous sound.
The day America was thrust into World War II.
We came out of the building and the sky was full of planes.
More than 2,400 Americans died in that attack.
They were all kids.
And you could say a little part of George
19, 20,
died that day too. George is the last Pearl Harbor survivor in his small Colorado county, one of the last in the entire country. But a few months ago, 80 years later, this veteran signed up to serve his community once again when a friend had an idea for a fundraiser leading up to George's 100th birthday.
He said, would you get 100 walks in by your birthday? Can you do that? I said, I think so. So I did it.
Did he ever? For more than 3 months in the thin mountain air, 7,000 feet above sea level, there he was every day.
To my 100th birthday.
And on his birthday, he's the one who gave the present to his hometown. More than $10,000 raised through his walks to help a local nonprofit serving families during the pandemic. From Pearl Harbor to his front patio, service is who George Blake is.
Thank you again for your time today.
It's no wonder he has so many fans.
That would be a tremendous surprise and gift.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Jeremy Hubbard.
Our veterans spend their lives protecting others. That's why they absolutely deserve a proper final salute. Military Honor Guards provides that valuable service for families.
But people willing to join is on the decline. And as reporter Roosevelt Leftwich explains, there's a need for help.
It is the last and perhaps the most important way that our country remembers its veterans. So everything has to be just right.
If you don't, you won't have that recess, and you won't have 4 good stars.
Retired Coast Guard Chief Petty Officer Charles Dudley is leading the 555th Honor Guard Detachment, who spends a week every 7 weeks at the Ohio Western Reserve National Cemetery. The group, made up mostly of retired service members from all 5 branches, travel around the state to make sure that those who served are given final honors and thanks from a grateful nation.
And it doesn't matter what branch of service, everyone is my brother or sister. and I will be here to take care of that honors.
On this day, the 555th and an honor guard from the Disabled American Veterans are here to support a family who is saying goodbye to a man who served proudly in the U.S. Coast Guard. And everything has to be just right. From that final walk to that final salute.
Aim first.
And then the final call. But one thing you might notice off the bat is that there is a lot of gray hair here. The youngest honor guard members are in their 60s, the oldest are in their 90s. Most of the honor guards come from traditional veterans organizations like the VFW, American Legion, Vietnam Veterans, and many others. But those groups aren't seeing younger members join, and Chief Dudley says they're reaching a point where it's getting harder to find volunteers willing to take on this very important duty.
People who are in their 40s and 50s and 60s to join any of the veterans groups to step up to the plate and help us honor our brothers and sisters, because those folks who we bury here are their brothers and sisters as well.
Volunteers are essential not only here at the National Cemetery, but throughout the Veterans Administration system. Old soldiers do die. And in the years of the War on Terror, many young ones have died too. But their service and dedication will not just fade away, as long as there are those who are willing to honor them.
That's my belief. I'm here to serve for my brothers and sisters.
In Seville, Roosevelt Leftwich, Fox 8 News.
When we come back, meet a veteran helping disabled children get around and making sure fallen veterans aren't forgotten. A special tribute when Veterans Voices returns. Welcome back to our Veterans Voices special. A Virginia veteran is helping disabled children and vets continue to move forward.
And at the same time, he's making sure our fallen veterans are not forgotten. Reporter Kerry OBrien shows us how this military man is giving back.
It's got, special gloves on it.
It's an adaptable three-wheel bike that's giving paralyzed and other disabled children, as well as veterans, mobility once again.
I wanted to give back in one way or another.
Retired Army Ranger James Howard sustained numerous military injuries, serving in the 82nd Airborne in Iraq, and was ultimately left paralyzed in a diving accident.
I call my injury a blessing by misfortune.
Howard was given a bike like this. That freedom to move again inspired him to launch Reach Cycles.
Good job!
A nonprofit that has given out over 600 bikes.
We've given to a triple amputee, a blind child, I mean, you name it. Regardless of the disability, we try to find a way for them to get moving on their bikes. Anytime I'm having a bad day, I can remember any one of these children that receive a bike and their smiles on their face, and it really puts life in perspective for me.
But bikes?
In every chaos, there's also opportunity.
Aren't this veteran's only mission.
Every single one of these tags has a story of heroism behind it.
Howard and his group, Veterans and Athletes United, are behind this dog tag memorial, honoring the troops lost during the global war on terror.
It's 28 feet wide by 6 feet tall.
The traveling memorial,
it's been to 50-plus locations.
Perhaps had its biggest showing yet. It was displayed at Ground Zero in New York for the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
That really was the start of everything.
Abby Baker.
We started with the blues and worked our way down.
Had a hand in putting the memorial together.
I personally would sit with a computer looking through it as it was being alphabetized just to make sure they were all in the right order.
The dog tags, red, blue, and silver, each naming
Jose Gonzalez
and honoring the troops killed in the war on terror. There are now over 7,000 dog tags.
It's sad to see that it's grown.
Next year, Howard plans to add the names of the 13 service members killed this year in Afghanistan in an attack outside the airport in Kabul.
Howard says he gets so many requests for this traveling memorial, not just here on the East Coast, but across the country, that he would really like to have a duplicate made that could be stationed in the West.
We get requests from Phoenix, San Diego, San Francisco, all over out west. And it would just be great, I think, to bring that kind of reflection out in that area.
While the memorial is on the road, a paper version is showcased at Howard's Virginia home, so school groups and others can also pay tribute.
People can really heal and learn from it.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Kerry OBrien.
When Veterans Voices returns, we head to Onslow County to meet a former Marine going the extra mile to bring attention to serious health and mental conditions facing some vets. His mission after the break. For the first time in 20 years, Onslow County hosted a veterans powwow.
Native Americans make up a huge percentage of veterans, and organizers say this event will allow military stationed here to celebrate this culture. Head dancer and Gold Star mother Amanda Ballard is a member of North Carolina's Lumbee tribe. She became a Gold Star mother when her son died overseas. Now she wears a dress made from her son's military uniforms.
After he passed and I was able to go through his things, I decided I want to do something to remember him and honor him. And we decided to take his dress blues, his Charlies, and his camis and set all that he had worn and do our patchwork with it.
Organizers say after 5 years in the making, the event was a huge hit and will likely return next year.
And finally this evening, we want to introduce you to a runner on a mission.
Not on your sides, Claire Curry tells us why this former Marine wants others to take that first step to get help before it's too late.
One North Carolina veteran brings awareness to take action for an issue that many service members face that often others can't see.
The suffering, the pain, the blisters, whatever I feel through that is nothing compared to what those warriors are suffering daily inside their head. If I can put myself through a little bit of pain and misery to help them, then so be it. Let's go.
James Huller is a former Marine. He's ran about 2,000 miles to raise money for Mission 22, a nonprofit that aids veterans suffering from PTSD or other mental health issues.
On average, 22 a day are taking their lives. Mission 22 is trying to battle that.
Heller and his close friend Joshua Fosberg participate in their own 322-mile ultramarathon run from Parris Island, South Carolina to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, raising money for Mission 22. Their Clear the Fog run is in honor of their friend Aaron Staffos, who took his own life.
We can be aware of something, but if we don't take action, we fail. And so our action is we run to raise the money, and then the money can be provided to take the action that is needed.
To get others involved, Huller and Fosberg are founders and directors for the Swami Shuffle, a 200-mile ultramarathon.
The reality is that suicide is the direct results of the trauma they saw in combat. So it's still a combat-related death, even though we don't necessarily look like that, and that's what we want to bring awareness to. Just, it may be 6 years later, that young man or woman that takes their life today is still the result of what they did in Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, whatever the case is. We can't forget that.
Huller and Fosberg are in the process of creating their own nonprofit called Awareness and Action to continue their mission, while also focusing on the children of military veterans.
And what they did was still heroic. You know, your dad, your mom was still a hero.
For Veteran Voices, I'm Claire Curry.
Thank you so much for joining us on this Veterans Voices special honoring those who served.
WNCC says thank you to all those who have served and are currently serving.
You can find more on WNCT.com.